Stop struggling with inconsistency. I will share the 7 habits you need to go from lazy to highly disciplined. Everyone wants the result that discipline brings, but few know what exactly creates it. It's not about motivation or willpower. It's about building these 7 specific habits that the most disciplined people rely on daily. In my last video, I shared what you must quit to break free from laziness. However, removing bad habits creates a vacuum that needs to be filled. I'm not a productivity guru with all the answers. I'm someone who is experimenting with these habits in real life and documenting what actually makes a difference. These 7 habits aren't about adding more to your plate. They're about creating a system that makes discipline automatic. Let's start with the habit number 1. Use success scaffolding. Success scaffolding means creating external structures that support you until your internal discipline is strong enough to stand on its own. Think about how buildings are constructed. They need temporary support structures until the foundation is solid. Your discipline works the same way. Research shows that relying solely on willpower is a recipe for failure. Most people who successfully build discipline use multiple layers of external accountability. So how do you find your success scaffolding? First, create accountability partnerships. Find a body who expects you to show up at specific times. Join a group where you have to report your progress regularly. Use apps that penalize you for not following through. Second, use commitment devices. These are arrangements you make with yourself that restrict future choices. Preparing for classes so you won't skip them. Giving someone money to hold until you complete a task. Using website blockers that can't easily be turned off. I started using the unhook extension for YouTube, which turns off my homepage and recommendations. Now I have to specifically search for what I need, instead of getting lost watching suggested videos for hours. This simple barrier between me and distractions have saved me countless hours of mindless scrolling. External accountability isn't cheating, it's strategic. Even Olympic athletes have coaches to keep them on track. Use success scaffolding until habits become automatic. Then gradually remove the support as your discipline solidifies. This brings us to habit number 2. Implement strategic friction. While my last video talked about removing distractions from your environment, strategic friction goes deeper. It's about engineering the resistance levels of every action you take throughout your day. It's not about what is physically around you. It's about redesigning your entire choice of architecture. Most people let friction work against them, but disciplined people engineer it to work for them. The science behind this is simple. Humans naturally follow the path of least resistance. If something requires extra steps, you are less likely to do it. If something is immediately available, you are more likely to do it. So how do you use strategic friction to your advantage? First, add friction to distractions. Delete social media apps from your phone, so you have to use the browser version. Put your gaming console in a closet, so you have to take it out every single time. Keep junk food in hard to reach cabinets, wrapped in multiple layers. Second, remove friction from productive activities. Lay out your gym clothes the night before so they are ready to go. Keep your study materials organized and easily accessible. Set up automatic reminders for important tasks. I started applying this to my phone habits. I moved all social media apps off my home screen on my phone and left the productive apps like Notion on my home screen. This tiny change reduced my screen time by over an hour every single day. By making distractions 20 seconds harder and productive actions 20 seconds easier, you stack the deck in favor of discipline without relying on willpower. If you're finding this helpful so far, a quick tap of the subscribe button will help more than you know. Let's keep going with habit number 3. Establish keystone routines. A keystone routine is a single habit that naturally triggers a cascade of other positive behaviors. It's like the first domino that knocks down all the others. Think of it as the one habit that makes all your other good habits easier to maintain. Some habits have an unequal impact on your entire day. For most highly disciplined people, these keystone routines fall into 3 categories: morning routines, evening routines, and transition moments. So how do you identify and build your keystone routine? First, look for patterns in your good days versus your bad days. What do you consistently do on days when you are productive? What's missing on days when everything seems to fall apart? For many students, making their bed first thing in the morning becomes a keystone habit that sets up a productive day. For others, it's planning the next day before bed, or taking a moment to reset between school and homework time. I noticed that the biggest factor of my productive days was whether I spend the first 30 minutes after waking up on my phone. Everything else became easier when I replaced that with a simple routine of drinking water and heading to the gym. Your keystone routine doesn't have to be complicated. You just need to be consistent and connected to other important behaviors. Find your keystone and the rest of your discipline will fall into place naturally. This brings us to habit number 4. practice identity-based actions. Identity-based actions are small daily behaviors that reinforce who you want to become, not just what you want to achieve. This is the deepest level of habit formation. Most people focus on outcome-based goals. I want better grades or I want to be fit. But research shows that the strongest habits are connected to your identity, your core beliefs about who you are. The fundamental question isn't what do I want to achieve, but who do I want to become? So how do you implement identity-based actions? First, define your desired identity in specific terms. Instead of I want to be disciplined, try I am someone who honors commitments to myself. Instead of I want to get good grades, try I am a dedicated student who prepares thoroughly. Second, identify tiny daily actions that affirm this identity. They should be so small that they are almost impossible to skip. For example, if you want to be someone who is very good with money, you might check your bank account balance every morning. If you want to be someone who's athletic, you might do 5 push-ups right after waking up. These tiny actions aren't about the results, but about reinforcing who you are becoming. I started seeing myself as someone who finishes what they start. So I began completing very small tasks from start to finish without interruption. Even simple things like thoroughly cleaning one section of my desk or reading 5 pages of a book. These tiny completions reinforce my identity as a finisher, making it much easier to apply to bigger projects. Your actions shape your identity, and your identity drives your actions. By focusing on what you want to be rather than just what you want to do, discipline becomes a natural expression of your self-image rather than a constant struggle. This brings us to habit number 5. Design your environment. Your physical space impacts your behavior more than willpower ever will. Think about it. When a bag of chips sits right in front of you, how much mental energy does it take to keep not eating them? Eventually, you'll cave. This is called choice architecture. Basically, your environment is constantly nudging you toward certain decisions without you even realizing it. So how do you make this work for discipline instead of against it? First, identify your eye distraction zones. These are places where you consistently get off track. For many things, it's your bedroom, where your phone, gaming console, and bed are all fighting for your attention while you're trying to study. Then create dedicated spaces for specific activities. Don't study on your bed if possible. Your brain associates that with sleep. Set up a desk or a table that's only for productive work. Even a specific corner of a shared table can work if you don't have much space at home. The key is consistency. Using the same spot and giving your brain visual signals that this is where work happens. Even using specific items like a notebook or pencil case can create an environmental trigger when space is limited. Remove visual triggers for distractions. Put your phone in another room, not just face down beside you. Keep gaming controllers out of sight during study time. I started doing this with my workspace at home. I created a productivity room where I only do focused work. No phones allowed, no social media, just the specific tasks I need to get completed. The difference was immediate. My brain automatically shifts into focus mode when I sit down in that space. Design your environment to make discipline the path of least resistance, and you need far less willpower to stay on track. This brings us to habit number 6. Practice progressive loading. You wouldn't walk into the gym for the first time and try to lift 300 pounds, right? The same principle applies to discipline. You need to build it gradually. Progressive loading is what weightlifters use to build muscle. They start with weights they can handle and slowly increase over time. Your willpower and focus work the exact same way. Most people fail at building discipline because they try to change everything at once. They go from 0 to trying to study for 3 hours a day, 7 times a week. By day 3, they are burnt out and quit completely. So how do you apply this progressive loading to discipline? Start ridiculously small, so small it seems too easy. For studying, begin with just 10 minutes of focused work. Do that consistently for a week and then bump it to 15 minutes for the next week, then 20, and so on. For any new habit, follow this same gradual progression. I use this approach with my morning routine. Instead of trying to wake up at 4 a.m. immediately, I started by just setting my alarm 10 minutes earlier each week. The changes were so small that my body barely noticed, but I completely transformed my wake up time over a few months. Your discipline is like a muscle. Stress it slightly, let it recover, then stress it a little more. This gradual approach makes massive change possible without burnout. This brings us to habit number 7. Master recovery protocols. Recovery protocols are predetermined plans of what to do when you slip up, because you will slip up and that's completely normal. The difference between disciplined people and everyone else isn't that they never fail, it's how quickly they get back on track. Most people follow what researchers call the abstinence violation effect. They miss one day of a habit and think, well, I've already blown it, I might as well give up. One mixed workout becomes 2 weeks away from the gym. One night of procrastination turns into a failed project. So how do you create effective recovery protocols? First, predetermine your bounce back plan. Before starting a new habit, write down exactly what you do if you miss a day. Make it specific and immediate. Not, I will try harder tomorrow, but if I miss my morning study session, I'll do 20 minutes right after dinner. Second, implement the never miss twice rule. Missing once is a slip up. Missing twice is the start of a new habit. Make it your absolute priority not to miss the same habit twice in a row. When I miss a day of working out, I have a strict rule that I have to replace it with another day during the week. This prevents one missed session from completely abandoning my fitness routine. It's a non-negotiable part of my system. By preparing for failure in advance, you transform temporary step backs into minor speed bumps instead of roadblocks that derail your entire journey. Now that you've learned what habits to build to become highly disciplined, you have the complete foundation for transformation. If you haven't watched my video on 7 things you must quit to go from lazy to disciplined, be sure to check out the video here. If you found value in this video, hit that subscribe button if you want to be disciplined. Remember, the path is just to walk, and as always, I'm in your corner rooting for you.